We are live. We are live. And welcome to this series. The real God is not in the Bible. The Bible is not about God. The Bible is not inspired by God. And I wrote a book about it. Tonight, in this conversation, we're going to talk about Jesus, Moses, Sargon of Akkad, and Harry Potter. What do they all have in common? What do they all have in common? And you could write a Bible. That's what we're talking about in this episode. In this series, The Real God is Not in the Bible. I am Reverend Valerie Love. Welcome to 2025. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We just had the new year. So, of course, whenever you're watching this, Happy New Year. If we've already been in the new year for a while, happy, beautiful day, whatever it is. So, we are live every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for Witchy Wednesday. And lately, Witchy Wednesday has been focused on the Bible. It's been focused on understanding the roots of the Bible, understanding the Bible and a connection to the Anunnaki, understanding ancient Hebrew, all of it, all of it, all of it. It has really been eye opening for me. It has been eye opening for me doing this research, even though I've been doing it for years and years and years and years. It is still eye opening. So I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that so many people have been watching this series, The Real God is Not in the Bible. It has an entire playlist. I think this is episode 24, 23, 24. Whatever episode it is, welcome. You are most welcome here. We are a global community, and this is a magical community. We have the Christian Witches Mystery School, which has classes tonight. I'll be teaching Bible magic tonight. You can find that at christianwitches.com. Click on Learn Christian Witchcraft. And we also do retreats all around the world. And my 20-year anniversary is coming up, but I'll tell you more about that later. Right now, let's get down to business. So we're going to go on screen share. And as usual, I have some things to share with you. Tonight is going to be a little different because I'm going to share with you directly from the book. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. Usually I have slides in Canva. Tonight, we're going straight into the book. You're going to love it. Okay, so I already pulled it up for you. Let's go. So you are in the book with me. This is behind the scenes. You are behind the scenes with me, and the real God is not in the Bible. This is where the book is, the manuscript. And I'm going to share with you what is the commonality. There are three. What are the commonalities? What are the correspondences between Sargon of Akkad, an actual historical figure, Jesus? Some say he was not a historical figure. Some say he is composite of several different people, and some say there was an actual Jesus. I'm not saying what to believe. I'm saying what different Bible scholars say. Moses, whom most Bible scholars are exactly in the camp with Dr. Joel Baden, who is professor of Hebrew Bible at Yale Divinity School. Love Dr. Joel Baden. Look him up on YouTube. He's got tons of amazing interviews. And this is what he says: nothing, family, nothing in the Bible about Moses is historically verifiable, or even remotely plausible or true. Nothing in the Bible about Moses. That was a hard one for me. I even put it on TikTok. I was like, you know what, family? This is a big one for me because Moses was our hero. Oh my goodness, Moses is the dude. Moses is freeing the slaves. Moses is throwing down the staff and it's turning into serpents. Wasn't real, never happened. Never happened. Moses is not a real person. Now, here's how I take it as a practicing Christian witch, because I came out of Christianity, I deconstructed and deconverted, I guess you could say. Yet, there were aspects of the Christian story that spoke very deeply to me. I don't hate the Bible, I love the Bible. There are aspects, I have a whole Bible collection. There are aspects of the Bible that speak very deeply to me and maybe to you as well. Some of the words, some of the poetry, some of the literature. It is just The stories, the allegory, the myth, the legend, the astrology. It speaks very deeply to me. And I grew up with these stories. I grew up with stories of Moses and Joshua and Samson and amazing stories. Jonah and the whale. They just didn't happen in the way they were put to us. And even when we were in it, we knew that a whale couldn't swallow a man and a man lived in the belly of a whale for 3 days. Like we knew this. Yet, my phone is going crazy. Let me put it on silent. Yet, we were, we were just caught up in these stories. We love these stories. So I decided not to throw out all the stories. I decided not to throw out all the things that I love about the Bible. I decided not to throw out everything that I had in my Christian background because I love the devotion. Right now, I could go in a church and as they raise the energy and as the choir's going, you will see me going. Oh, yes, because churches understand energy. We're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater proverbially. So I kept what worked for me. I kept what lived and resides deep in my soul. And I got rid of the hellfire and the damnation and all that and the original sin. None of that shit is true. They made it up to enslave people, capture people's minds, and keep people stuck to the church. Because the church is a vampire. It needs your energy to feed. It needs to feed on the people that come. If all the people stopped going to church, we would be pretty much in the UK. The churches are just kind of standing there. Some of them are being converted into mosques because currently, as it is in the state of affairs and religion on the planet in 2025, I don't know when you might be watching this video. You could be watching this video during an after Earth experience. I don't know. It could be 2050 and you're watching this video, or 3000 and you're watching this video. Current state of affairs, if you want to go to 2025, is that Islam is the fastest growing religion on the planet right now. Some of the churches are actually being converted into mosques. So I say all that to couch and frame this conversation if you're brand new here. If you're not brand new here, you've heard me say these things many times. Yet as a Christian witch, as a practicing Christian witch, I value the Bible. As a practicing Christian witch, I value the things that I learned and the stories that I grew up in with in Christianity. I just know that the story is not true, yet I still gain tremendous benefit from the stories. The principles in the stories, they're like Aesop's fables. We know, I grew up listening to stories of Brer Rabbit, and Uncle Ben, or was it Uncle Ben Shed or whatever? What was the name of those movies they used to, I mean, those TV, those books they used to read to us, all about Brer Rabbit and all of that. And they were always doing some kind of things. And I grew up with Winnie the Pooh, things like that. And Dick and Jane, see Dick run, run Jane, run Dick, run, to learn how to, these early readers to learn how to teach you how to read. Well, these stories are these are our formative year stories. I don't think we want to throw out Snow White just because we know there was no woman that was sleeping in the forest and seven dwarfs came around. And I mean, come on, we know it's not the truth, but nobody is saying, hey, let's kill Snow White. We like Snow White. So it's the same for me with the Bible. I know Moses never existed. It doesn't take away from the essence of the stories about Moses. I had to reframe them. And that's how I reframe them in a way that works for me, my spirituality, my devotion, all of that's deep within my soul. But now you yourself, you get to determine what it means for you. I'm only here sharing my journey, right? So let's talk about Sargon, who is a historical fact, a person. Jesus, who there's great debate over whether he was a historical person or not. The jury is still out because no one has proven it one way or the other. Moses, proven, never existed. Harry Potter is a fantastical person. There's no real Harry Potter. Okay? So we want to look at this was shocking to me when I found out what I'm about to show you tonight. This was shocking for me. There are three correspondences, three elements that all of these figures have. And we're going to talk about it right now. Okay, so now, what are the three? Here are the three. These are what we would call motifs, or we could call them, yeah, a motif is a great way to describe it. These are the three motifs, and we're going to examine these motifs with each one of these characters. And so these are three motifs that are very popular. Even now, they're still popular. They were very popular in the ancient world. Going back thousands of years, you would see these motifs repeat over and over. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you proof of these repeating motifs. Now, how do we know it's a motif? Well, let's take this example as a modern day example that people know very well. Today, we have the magic school motif. And in the magic school motif, a bunch of kids that are, you know, magically gifted, they go to a school that's somewhere that no one knows about, and muggles can't get into this school. So Harry Potter is in that genre, right? It's fantasy, yet it's set in a magic school. Same thing with what was the show that came after Vampire Diaries? Not Vampire Diaries, because they weren't in a magic school. It was the show that was a sequel. Even after the originals, there was another sequel with the kids. They were in a magic school. Then you have, I think there was another vampire show. They were in a magic school. So a motif is something that is recurring and repeating. And it's sort of like it's bigger than a trope. So tropes are certain things that happen in stories. A motif is sort of the way you frame the entire story. So you frame the story in a magic school, right? So let's look at these three motifs and let's look at how Jesus, Sargon, Moses, Harry Potter all fit these motifs, which is very interesting. Once again, I'm not here to tell you what to think about it, I'm just pointing it out. And others also fit into these motifs. And these motifs were used in Mediterranean literature to write stories about heroes, epic heroes, you know? So let's look at these motifs. First, there is the exposed infant or the exposed hero motif. We'll talk about that in a moment. I'm going to break down what these are after after I do an overview of each one. Then we're going to look at what is each one and how do they apply. Then there's the divine child motif. Then there is the foundling motif. Okay, so let's explore these motifs. First, let's look at, and you can screenshot, feel free to screenshot any of this and go and use it for the basis of your own research. Because of course, I'm not looking for disciples. Jesus had 12 already. I'm not looking for 12 apostles. I'm not looking for disciples. We are all masters in the making. We are all intelligent, critical thinkers around here who come to our own conclusions. We do our own research, and we left religion more than likely, or we don't align with religion as much as we used to because religion doesn't teach you how to think, it tells you what to think. I'm the exact opposite. I don't teach you what to think. I talk about how to think, right? So we get to use those critical thinking skills. We get to use our minds and we get to come to conclusions. We get to do research, put the puzzle pieces together, then reflect and meditate on what we already know. Does it fit? As we fit these puzzle pieces together. So let's explore these motifs through some of the stories that we know. Horus, also known as Heru, he was Heru and then later Horus. Moses, Krishna, Romulus and Remus, who were the founders of Rome. Jesus, Buddha, Augustus, Mithras, Dionysus, Apollo. All of these have part of the motif. So let's look at the first motif. Here's the first motif, the exposed infant motif. What is that? Well, I love the exposed infant motif. It's a baby. It's exactly what it says. It's a baby whose life is in peril. Sound familiar? The baby is abandoned, usually, or meets with some hostile or unfriendly conditions. Okay? The baby is somehow rescued from danger. Now, the baby is very important. This is a very important. This ain't no average, everyday, ordinary baby, right? The baby is the chosen one, but no one knows it yet. Okay? The baby is going to grow up in the story, whatever story they're weaving. The baby is going to grow up to be this powerful leader. So let's look at how does the exposed infant motif fit Jesus? Yes. Harry Potter? Yes. Moses? Yes. Sargon? Yes. It is my intimation, my deduction that Moses was created from Sargon of Akkad. Why do I say that? Well, we'll find out a little bit more about Sargon of Akkad's story. We're right in the book right now. And if you want to get the book is at ValerieLove.com/books. I'll drop it in the chat for us. And also, if you are a member on the YouTube channel, either the Christian Witches YouTube channel or the Valerie Love YouTube channel, you have this book as a gift. Hold on, let me come off of screen share. Stop screen sharing. Let me come off of screen share and let me come over into the chat. Hey, family. Hey, hey, hey. Let me come into the chat. Thank you for being patient with me because I'm on a new platform. Normally, I use another streaming service, and I started using Restream now. How you loving? How you loving? How you loving? Let me drop this link in the chat because that's where you can pick up the book. The Real God is Not in the Bible. And family, if you have the book, please, 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 pretty please with sugar on top, with a cherry on top, like we used to say when we were little kids, please leave a review on Goodreads and Amazon or just Amazon. Please leave a review. A review is so important. Just take a couple of minutes and just hop over to Amazon and just put a couple of sentences there on why the book works for you or why you like the series or what you learned or anything like that. Reviews are so important. They're so important. So please, 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 pretty please leave a review. Okay, that's the link. Hey family, hey family, come on, come on. Oh, yeah, the planets are aligning. Yes, they are. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, let's continue. So we're going to go on screen share. We're going to look at these motifs and we're going to look at the strange connections between all of these different heroes or legendary figures, let's call them, right? They're quite legendary. Okay, so we're on screen share. Let's go to um, the baby whose life is in peril. Now, I want to go to Sargon of Akkad's story. What is his story? Okay, so Sargon, his traditional dating of his lifespan is, well, actually, Moses was 1526 to 1406, supposedly, according to tradition. That is the dating of the mythical character Moses. Sargon is dated from 2334 to 2270 BCE, and we do have actual historical evidence that he existed as a king. He is a historical figure. Sargon actually was the first person, they say, who created an empire. I would not agree with that because remember, when you read these things from history in the European world, they're not thinking about anyone from China or Africa or India or the Americas, where the Hopi tribes lived for thousands of years. They're not including anyone in their first evers other than the Romans and the Greeks and the Europeans. Now, I'm not saying in our community, we have all kinds of people. I'm talking about when you read history books and when you go to school in Europe, in the European world, in the Western world, which America is part of, they're not teaching you about Mansa Musa was the richest man who ever lived. And if you don't know who Mansa Musa was, that's by design. Mansa Musa, I believe Solomon was based on the figure of Mansa Musa, who built the Mali Empire. Gold on gold on gold on gold. More gold probably than anyone in the world when he was alive. So when they tell you, oh, the Greeks and the Romans, academics, anyone who's been to school in the Western world, which I have as well, they revere the Romans and the Greeks. The Greeks are the smartest people who ever lived, but the Greeks told us that they got their smarts from Egypt. So take it with a grain of salt what the academics tell you, because they're completely eliminating Africa. They're completely eliminating India. They're completely eliminating China, which is the biggest country on the planet. How are you going to eliminate all of China? They don't tell you anything about the longest running empire in the world is China, still running thousands of years later. It is the oldest empire. When I say empire, I mean like a dynasty. And India is one of the oldest intact civilizations on the planet, far older than the Greeks and the Romans. So understand the larger global context we live in. I travel all around the world. I take people all around the world on our luscious retreats, as you know, or maybe you're finding out about this. And family, we've just got to broaden our perspective beyond the typical Western colonizer. And colonizer is not a color, it is a consciousness. I say that all the time. Beyond the colonizer consciousness, because the colonizers, which there were African colonizers too. There were Black people that were colonizers. So, like I said, colonizer is not a color. Colonizer is a consciousness. And we still have the colonizer consciousness on this planet. You still see people that want to go and take over somebody else's shit. You still see them doing it. I'm like, wow, there goes a colonizer. And they could be many different colors. So don't associate a particular color with a particular thing that a person does, because the world just doesn't work that way. I've been to many dozens of countries. The world doesn't work that way. I saw it with my own eyes. So Sargon, according to what you will read in history books, is the first to have an empire. It was the Akkadian Empire. Okay. Now, this Akkadian Empire, huge. And the Akkadian Empire gave birth to the Babylonian Empire. And what happened with the Hebrew people? The Hebrew people were captive in Babylon for hundreds of years. And during Babylonian captivity is when they started to write their Bible. So they would have all known about Sargon of Akkad. The man was bigger than life. It's like everybody living now knows about Trump. Everyone living now knows about Elon Musk. Everyone alive now knows about certain figures on the planet. Everyone pretty much alive in the United States knows about Abraham Lincoln. And it's not a matter of whether you like these people or don't like them. I'm just saying that people know them, for better or for worse. That's your decision to make, right? What you think of them. We're not talking about what anyone thinks of anyone. We're talking about, many people know Beyonce. Many people know Taylor Swift, right? Many people know Harry Potter. Many people know Luke Skywalker, but no one knew Luke Skywalker in the days of Shakespeare. But in the days of Shakespeare, everyone knew Macbeth, right? So throughout human history, we've all had larger than life figures that most of the people in the general population knew about. Sargon was one of them. Now, Sargon had a very interesting birth story. What is his birth story? Because we're talking about this exposed child motif, the baby's in danger, right? And have you noticed it recurs in the Bible? Moses, there's no evidence whatsoever of a mass genocide of babies in Egypt. It's a story, it was made up. There's no, and Egyptians wrote down everything. They're still pulling things out of. I went to see Oxyrhynchus 654, which is a piece of scrap of a papyrus that they pulled out of Oxyrhynchus, which is a trash heap. When I went to London, I went to the British Museum. First, I went to the British Museum because it said online that Oxyrhynchus 654 was being housed at the British Museum. When I got to the British Museum, they said, oh, no, we don't have it. It was moved over to the British Library. And I was like, well, where's the British Library? Because I'm going. I went over to the British Library and they said, oh, yeah, we have it here. And then but you can't go in this room and see these things unless you get a reader's card. So what did I do promptly? Well, how do you get a reader's card? How do you do that? They said, oh, you have to go in this room and fill out this application and do this and show this ID. And I promptly did that. And then they gave me a reader's card. And then I went into the super secret room where you could see the things and ask for things that other people maybe don't want to see or don't care about. And I got to see Oxyrhynchus 654 and I took a picture of it. Pictures of it. And the Oxyrhynchus 654 that I got to see, it was not the actual papyrus. People can't handle the actual papyrus. The thing is old, it would be falling apart, right? No, they took negatives of it, they took pictures of it, and they have it in a big, huge book. I took pictures of it, and you can see the pictures when you go into, I'll tell you where you can see the pictures of it. If you go to ValerieLove.com and you click on the book, is it here? Buy the book from the author. In the book, if you have the book, right in the book, it gives you a link to the course. I did a master class on the book and I did a mini course on the book. And you can get both of them. It's inside the book. Okay. And it'll show you pictures because I put pictures in there, video in there from my research. It's research that wouldn't fit into the book. Okay. We want this to be a book, not an encyclopedia. Okay. And a book that's manageable that people would actually pick up and read. So, what's up with Sargon? Sargon's mother was a priestess, and she was an priestess of the Intu class. This is an elite class of priestesses, and she worked in the temple of Inanna, also known as Ishtar in Babylon. Right? Inanna just keeps recurring. She just looks different in different places. In ancient Mesopotamia, Sumer, she was Inanna, one of the Anunnaki, one of the major Anunnaki. Then they elevated them, they got elevated to gods at some point, whether they told people to worship them as gods or whether people started to believe that they were gods. It's up for debate. Either way, people refer to them now as gods. They were never gods. People refer to Inanna as a goddess. She was never a goddess. Inanna was one of the Anunnaki, an actual flesh and blood being from another star system. She was an interstellar visitor, just like her brothers, her parents, her grandparents. They were all interstellar visitors to this planet. And then later on, Inanna got turned into a goddess, and her Mesopotamian name is Inanna. Then in Akkadia and Babylon, it was Ishtar in Babylon. And for the Hebrew people, it was Asherah or Asherah, however you'd like to pronounce it. Yahweh's wife. Yes, God had a wife. Now, I'm not saying that Yahweh is God because Yahweh is not. There is a book. People think Yahweh is God. So that's why I said Yahweh, God had a wife. There is a book that is an excellent book, and I'm going to show you where to get this book. So if you go to ValerieLove.com, click on books. If you scroll all the way down on that page, you will get a link to my Amazon store, Valerie Love's Amazon store. And when you go there, just put in, I want you to get to this book, When God Had a Wife. Let's see. It's in both of these lists. So let's click on this list right here. Boom. You want this book right here. Oh, you want this book right here. Deeply well researched. It is absolutely magnificent. And it talks all about Yahweh and his Asherah, which was everywhere. Yahweh and his Asherah. They were inseparable until someone decided to separate them. Okay, so going back to Sargon's mother, she was a priestess in the temple of Inanna, because all of the Anunnaki, the major Anunnaki, they had temples, priests, and it was king priest was together, right? Because kingship was considered divine. Now, the thing about Sargon's mother, here's the story about her. She took a vow of celibacy. Because in this temple and in many and an into priestess is a very high elite status of priestess. And they didn't usually leave the temple, and they had, purity, ritual purity, and they took vows of celibacy because their life could not be devoted to a man or anyone else, because their life was devoted to the god or the goddess that they were quote unquote married to. Not like, you literally marry the, like nuns marry Jesus and they wear a wedding band and all of that. Not that. More like, I'm devoted to this temple and to this being of this temple. Therefore, I'm not going to give my attention and time and energy and all of that time and energy that it would take to have a relationship, let's say with a husband or whatever, whoever you have a relationship with. That takes a lot of time, energy, and attention, where you're supposed to be at the temple praying and burning the incense and all the other things. So she took vows of celibacy, but then how did she wind up pregnant? Well, we know how vows of celibacy go many times. Let's just say we don't always keep the vows of celibacy, because it's just so wonderful when you do not, when you're not celibate, right? I mean, celibacy is wonderful too, if you like that kind of thing. But anyway, so she gets pregnant. She hides the pregnancy for the 10 lunar months, because a woman is pregnant for 10 lunar months, not 9 months. That's trash they made up, because we have a wonky calendar. Our calendar is all wonky because the Romans mess with that too. It's January 1st, truth be told, is not even the beginning of the year. The beginning of the year comes in spring. And I think everybody knows that. Intuitively, we know that spring is the new year. Anyway, we're going to go with January. It was named after Janus, their god of, new beginnings and all of that. So January 1, the Romans changed that. Humans changed calendar. And we just kind of went along with it because it is what it is at this point. Well, 10 lunar months, a woman is pregnant, 40 weeks. And she hid the pregnancy. So when it was time to have the baby, she obviously could not have a baby in a temple. So she had the baby somehow, and she had to hide the baby. She had to conceal this baby. So she puts the baby. Do you see this? She crafts a basket of reeds, seals it with bitumen, which is a waterproof tar sealant, then floats baby Sargon down the Euphrates river, hoping for the best. Wait a minute. A baby in a basket on a river. Where have we heard that story before? Wait a minute. I think this is familiar. Wait a minute. My grandson Ether, he's older now. When he was little and he was figuring out things, if he heard two things that didn't match, he would say, "Wait a minute." Right? So, wait a minute. Where have we heard that story before? A baby, literally. The story of Moses is not original. That's why I believe the part of the story about, if the whole story of Moses is not built on Sargon of Akkad, why not take a hero that's already a hero? And if you want to fashion your hero, take elements from the existing hero that everybody loves. Take elements from Abraham Lincoln if you want to make another hero. If you're in a kind of place where people would love Abraham Lincoln, right? Or George Washington. I mean, come on, family. I want to say something to the Americans in this moment. Do we really know much about the founding fathers? No, they could have been horrible people. George Washington, Andrew Jackson, all these dudes that are on these dollars. These could have been the worst people on the planet. We don't know. I didn't know any of them. Some of them were slave owners. Some of them were. We don't know what kind of people these were. Yet we have in our minds the founding fathers, that they were so principled and that they had this idea. They're so idealistic, and they set up this new country, and we're free from the kings and the tyranny, and we're free from, being indentured servants and all that. Yeah, but they had slaves. So how different did they make it? I don't know. But anyway, let's get back to the story. So it's a great story. We don't know if these founding fathers could have been the worst people on the planet or they could have been angels. I don't know. Yet, the way they tell us the story, you do know it's a fantasy, right? That they were in a room and they signed the Declaration of Independence, and there was the Liberty Bell, and then Betsy Ross was sewing a flag. It's a great story. I don't know. And if you go to Philadelphia, you know they take all the little kids in America on the East Coast to Philadelphia, and you see the Liberty Bell. Look at the crack in the Liberty Bell. See what we're talking about? It's supposed to be proof of the story. No. But anyway, I digress. These things crack me up. Like, we believe a lot of stories. That's the bottom line of it. This story of a baby, Sargon's mother put him in a basket. This is the story of Sargon of Akkad. Now, I'm not even saying that because he's a historical figure that she actually did this part. Because there are historical people that then have legend added to their story later. And the legendary parts are not true. I don't know if she actually put him in a basket on the Euphrates River. It's an amazing exposed infant motif. It's a way to signal to the reader, hey, this person's going to become amazing, legendary. And so if they lauded Sargon, they had to give him a good origin story. You can't just have a hero that was just born a regular mother and a regular father, and you just grow up and then you turn into a hero. That's boring. you you have to have an origin story, like the mother who was secretly pregnant in the temple. I mean, maybe she was really an into priestess. That part could have been true. But how did she hide a pregnancy for 10 lunar months? And how did she give birth to a baby? And I don't know, critical thinking, you start to look at these stories. How did she? I don't want to be skeptical, yet I am a critical thinker. How did she give birth to a baby in a temple? I mean, it could have happened. But now the part about she made a basket out of reeds and put him in the basket and floated him down the Euphrates River, hoping that he would be safe. I don't know. A farmer found him in the story and raises him, right? And that's another motif. But let's stay with this exposed infant motif for right now, because the exposed infant motif applies to Sargon, and it's almost an identical story, except it's a different river. The Euphrates River is over here in the east, and the Nile River is over here. So you mean we have a baby basket in a basket floating down the Euphrates River in the east, and we have a baby in the basket a thousand years or a few hundred years later, floating in the basket on the Nile River? What are people doing? They're just floating their babies down rivers. I don't think so. so, so this is a story, right? It's a story to signal greatness. This is a hero. Okay, let's go further. Now, Sargon, he grows up, okay, after she gives birth to the baby and all that, he was found. He was found by a gardener, or some say a farmer, Aki, Akki. And he felt sorry for him. He sees this baby. Oh my goodness, look at this baby on the river. Just like Moses was found, right, by the Pharaoh's daughter. Okay. Look at the baby. Let's get this baby. Let's get this baby out of nature. By the way, Remus and Romulus, supposedly the founders of Rome, were left in the woods, and it was wolves or she bears. It was wolves that raised them, and they were drinking milk from the wolves. I mean, come on, this is a fantastical story. We know what would happen if wolves found babies in the woods. It would be over. That would be a snack. So it's a motif, the exposed infant motif. Harry Potter has it. Remember? Lord, who shall not be named. Lord Voldemort was in the very room with Harry when Harry was a baby in the crib, and Voldemort killed the parents. Harry is in danger. He's got this little lightning thing on his forehead. Expose infant motif. The infant is going to grow up to be a great hero that's going to conquer the darkness. If Voldemort had known that that was going to be Harry Potter, he would have just finished him off in the crib. Right? He didn't know. So this is a motif. Okay, so Harry Potter has this motif. Jesus has this motif. Jesus hears has a dream. The child is in danger. The child is in danger of who? Herod. Herod wants to kill the child. Why? Because the Persian magi, I don't know how people skip over the fact that these magical beings were in the Bible. They have them in the story, they have them in the nativity scene. It says in the Bible they were magi, they were astrologers following the star. And that's a okay, except if you try to do some astrology, it's not okay. I don't know. I don't understand that part. But anyway, Jesus was in danger. And they said, take the infant and flee to Egypt because Herod is ordered a genocide of all the babies. Now that never happened either. We don't have any proof or any evidence or anything in well documented societies where people are writing things down. I'm not talking about millions of years ago when people were writing things on the cave wall. We've been writing things for a very long time. I'm talking about in societies like Egyptian societies where they wrote down everything. We're still finding shopping lists that people wrote down. We can still find lists that people wrote, divorce papers, legal papers. No record whatsoever of any pharaoh that ordered a genocide of babies. Same thing with Herod. So these are stories, and this exposed infant motif or exposed hero motif is is just a story. That's all it is. It's a powerful story because why is it a powerful story before we go into the divine child motif? It's a powerful story because it gets you connected to the hero of the story right away. If you were writing a novel, you would want to use some of these motifs. They're powerful. They grip us. And religion, knowing this, that they grip us because we are story beings, they feed us this in church. Okay, let's look at the divine child motif and who fits that motif. What is it? The divine child motif, it's similar to the exposed infant motif, yet it has some differences. So let's look at the divine child motif. A supernatural or miraculous birth. You can screenshot this and then do for purposes of doing your own research. It has the child has a supernatural or miraculous birth, which could involve a virgin, a barren woman, or a woman past childbearing age. We see that a lot in the Bible. That either the woman can't have a baby for some reason, and there's some divine intervention, and now she's able to have a baby. Hannah, Samson's mother, Noah's mother, Melchizedek's mother, was it Melchizedek's mother, Jesus' mother, Moses' mother, on and on and on and on. Their mothers couldn't have a baby. Of course, Isaac's mother, on and on and on. Okay? Portents attend the birth of a divine child, signs in heaven, stars, storms, prophetic dreams. We've got to put some portents in here that signal, the star over the baby Jesus, right? Storms, like you heard in Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, Daenerys is a divine child motif because Daenerys is stormborn. She's born during a storm. So all of these elements are saying this person is going to save the world. Okay? And the child's life is in danger. Thus, the caretakers of the child must hide them or flee with them or put them in safety. That's a recurring theme as well, that something has to be done with this baby. The child has a modest upbringing that belies their inherent divine nature. The child is brought up in a place that is not who they really are. And no one really knows who this child is. The child will experience a catalytic moment or a series of events that will awaken the child to their true divine nature and their hero status, their magical wake up, right? Something will happen, like when Hagrid comes to get Harry Potter, right? Something's going to happen, and this child is now going to be seen for who they truly are. Okay, as the child turned hero continues to mature, they'll galvanize forces to stand against the evil and they'll save the people. They're going to start garnering support, right? All the heroes have to do this. The people love them. The people are on their side. The people are behind the hero so that they can kill David and kill Goliath. Okay? Eventually, the hero is seen as divine and specifically called and sent by God to right wrongs. Because this is a divine child. This is a child that descended from heaven somehow. Of course, we made this up. We invented it because everybody's from heaven. Everybody's divine. Everyone is a divine child. So there is no special divine children anywhere. Okay, here are the people who fit. Oh, by the way, all of this is in the book if you're just joining us. Hop in and get the book. Or if you're a member on the Valerie Love YouTube channel or the Christian Witches YouTube channel, go in the community tab. So if you go to YouTube, Val Love Inspires or Christian Witches, and you go to the community tab, let's see, community, we're going to look for, is this it? Blog post. Hold on. Go down the community tab and you're going to see the link to the book, Rise in Peace. Let's see. Well, look on the community tab, and if you are a member, you're going to see a link to the book. And go on the Valerie Love channel. And if you are a member, go to the community tab. You are going to see a link there as well. It might not be showing me the members uh post because yeah. Okay, so go there and find it. Okay, now these are the ones who fit the divine child motif: Sargon, divine; Apollo, divine; Horus, also known as Heru. By the way, when we were in Egypt, there is also a story of Set, also known as Isis, placing Heru, also known as Horus. Heru is the original name for Kemet, 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 the Black Land. That's what Kemet means, the Black Land. I don't know if it refers to the people or to the rich black soil by the Nile River. Um, and the Greeks named him Horus. Krishna, Jesus, Moses, once again, Romulus and Remus, and Buddha, divine child motif. Okay, let's look at the last motif. This motif is the foundling motif. Okay, now here are elements of the foundling motif. The baby who was abandoned is found or discovered by kind hearted or compassionate people, or maybe taken to relatives. So the baby is found. Yay, the baby's found. Okay, the child is raised by very ordinary people. Sometimes the child is raised by animals, think Tarzan. Okay, we've seen this foundling motif over and over and over again. No one knows who this child is. Their divine or elite or royal status is hidden because they're in just a regular neighborhood or a regular family. Even the child themselves doesn't know who they are, or they're with the animals in the wilderness, and only to be revealed at a key and pivotal moment when the child begins to express, once again, these leadership talents or these divine gifts or magic, or some other sign that this child is divine or heroic. Okay? Now, here's a note: the exposed infant motif and the foundling motif are similar. There are very key differences between these. See, in the exposed infant motif, the very special baby is in peril and danger, perilous danger, and has to be hidden or sent or carried somewhere to be kept safe. Okay. And sometimes the baby is placed in a natural setting like the woods with Tarzan, or a basket on the river, whatever. Oh, let me finish the point about Heru. Thank you, Spirit. Heru was also placed in a basket among the reeds on the Nile River by his mother Osset to hide him from his quote unquote evil uncle Set. I don't call Set evil. He's just different from, he's more chaotic, right? It's more about chaos, which is not evil. We need chaos, or else we wouldn't have it. Now, um, this leads into the foundling motif, because in the foundling motif, this is the part of the story where the baby is found either by kind people, family members, animals, and raised. This is the next part of the story, that they're going to be raised, but they're not going to be raised with any knowledge of who they are. Think Harry Potter. Now, I want to come off of screen share for a minute, and I want to hear from you all. What are your thoughts about this? What is happening? What are your thoughts? Let me read some of these thoughts. Oh, new subscriber! Yay! 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 Welcome! Welcome! We love new subscribers around here. Welcome! So happy you're here. Um, is a land of milk and honey, cow milk and date honey? That's a good question. I have no idea. Chaos is depicted as a crisis. That's an excellent question. Chaos and crisis are actually two different things. So a crisis is, they're actually somewhat opposite. So, a crisis is when a problem has elevated with no attention given to it or solution, it progresses into a crisis. So, let's say, for instance, a person is not taking care of their health and they are continually smoking or continually doing something else that is abusing the body temple. And then eventually they go to the doctor, and the doctor gives them some kind of crisis experience, like you have X amount of time to live, or you have this or that dis-ease in the body temple. You are now at a crisis. Chaos is more the foundation of everything. Everything comes from chaos. Chaos simply means it has not formed yet. It is not yet in order. It's just like a field of pure potentiality. Chaos is everything and nothing, the way I look at chaos. I don't look at chaos as like, it could be a storm, like a hurricane creates chaos. But is that really a problem? Of course, it's a problem if people lose their lives, unfortunately. Yet, people lose their lives in a situation like a hurricane because we are out of touch with understanding the natural rhythms. Because if we understood the natural rhythms like our forebears, we would know to move away from hurricanes, just like all the animals do. In that huge tsunami that hit, was it Thailand? So horrible, so horrible. All of the animals began moving to high ground days before the tsunami hit. A couple of days, a day before the tsunami hit, they said they even saw snakes slithering uphill. The only animals that did not go all the way up into the high ground where the tsunami did not catch them were animals that were captive by humans, like dogs on leashes. They couldn't go, but they were like barking, like telling their something's coming. See, because the animals never lost their connection to all of nature. Nature is very chaotic. Nature is very chaotic. Yet something is being born out of that chaos, right? So I don't view Set as like evil, like they try to tell us. They've tried to convince us that Set is evil. I don't really see Set as evil. I see Set as chaos. So all of these characters in these different stories, they just stand for something different. Like one may stand for chaos, one may stand for love, one may stand for fertility, one may stand for, destruction. So it's like Callie. Callie is a destroyer goddess. Like she comes with the chopping heads. What? And Artemis, with the bow, and also known as Diana, and the goddesses that are the warrior goddesses. What are they for? They're for bringing the heat, bringing the war. Sometimes you got to bring the heat. So they all stand for things, and I never really saw chaos as a bad thing. And you subscribed not too long ago. Yay! So that's kind of how I see chaos, and chaos is compared as the apocalypse. I don't know. Some people may. I don't, though. I don't see it that way. I see it a little different way. Uh, were the presidents devoted Christians? That's an excellent question, because they could have been. They very well could have been the founding fathers of the United States of America, could have been Christians. What we do know is that they were also occultists. We do know that they were Masons. We do know that they hired someone to set up Washington, D.C., and Washington, D.C. is set up completely according to Masonic rites. I mean, the whole occult formation of Washington, D.C. is well documented in many books. Right? That's right. The Sabbath is not Sunday. Absolutely. Absolutely. I heard they stole the prophecies of the Sibyls and Mami Wata. Ah, the Sibyls. Woo! So Mami Wata, the original, like, goddess, money in the vortex, money in the vortex, money in the vortex. We love money in the vortex. Mami Wata is, once again, the chaos, the primordial waters. The primordial waters are in some kind of chaos because it hasn't formed yet into human, planet, star, right? So it's chaotic, it's movement, it's primordial, it's primary. So Mami Wata is the original, and I don't want to say the original as in there was no mother before her. She is representative of the original mother goddess, the original womb, the primordial waters from which everything flows. By the way, amniotic fluid and ocean water are very similar in their salt. The salinity and the composition of amniotic fluid in ocean water is very similar. So all of us were swimming around in an ocean of sorts. So those are the primordial waters. You came forth in waters. And we all were in the waters, and in the dark. That's somewhat chaotic as well. And you were being formed in that chaos, and you were going to take a form. But when we first looked at you, all of us looked like tadpoles, right? We didn't have form yet. First you look like a cell, they tell us anyway. It was a cell, and then it got together, and then it's two cells, and then it divides into four, and then it divides into eight. And then I think that they call that a blastocyst, something like that. And then it continues to go, and it gets a little tail, and then you had these little eyes. It looks pretty alien, what they show us. And then supposedly develop, we morph into a baby. That's chaos because it's coming from the waters, the darkness, the depth, no form. It's primordial. It's Genesis. Okay, love it, love it, love it. Reverend Ike taught the Bible as us. I loved when he talked about the 12 disciples as the 12 disciplines. Yes, he was a dynamic teacher, anointed one, never got it also. Absolutely. You want to know something interesting? The lamp post. This is very interesting. I grew up in Harlem. And Reverend Ike had a building not far from us, the Audubon Ballroom. he used to preach at the Audubon Ballroom. The Audubon Ballroom was also the same place where Malcolm X was killed, if I'm correct in my history here. These have things happened back in the 60s, okay? So we used to go past the Audubon Ballroom and it would have up on the marquee Reverend Ike this Sunday, prosperity or something he would be teaching about because Reverend Ike had his fur coats. And Reverend Ike was in the hood. He would come into the hood to teach and preach and whatnot. Reverend Ike had his fur coats. Reverend Ike would pull up in Rolls Royces and all these cars and things that people in the hood would be like, what? And you either loved him or hated him because either you wanted to find out how he got all of that because he taught it every Sunday, or you wanted to hate on him because he was successful and had figured it out. Well, the Christians used to hate on Reverend Ike. And I remember walking past Audubon Ballroom and it would have the sign up, Reverend Ike was coming. And my mother used to be like, the Christians did not like Reverend Ike. Man, you watch Reverend Ike. He is the one of the most powerful metaphysical teachers ever. He's telling you that everything stands for something. He's telling you what it really means, what the Bible really means metaphysically. And none of it is literal. None of it. And I love me some Reverend Ike, okay? I love me some Reverend Ike. Oh, Aurora Day. Thank you so much. I did the green today. I did green today with the green face jewels. So I felt like money. Oh my goodness, you're watching from Kenya. I love Kenya. My first passport that I got 15 years ago or so was to go to Kenya. My first passport was for Kenya. I love Kenya. Love it, love it, love it. Love Kenya. Judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of a festival day or of the new moon or of the Sabbath, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ. Okay, thank you, Matthew 16:18. I'm going to say something about Christians. Trigger alert. Here go Reverend now. Um, I never understand why Christians post random scriptures. They do that a lot on social media. They'll just come into a conversation and post a random scripture like that's supposed to mean things to people that don't even look at the Bible the same way they do. But, it's what they want to do. It's what they want to do. Do whatever you like. Hey, that must be the money. We start our year off in 2025. Phenomenal. Now, family, I've got to say something to you. Oh, Sabbath is a shadow of the Lord's day. No, Sabbath is not. I'm going to tell you where the Sabbath came from. The Sabbath came from the Anunnaki. Do the research on this. The Sabbath came from the Anunnaki, and after 6 days, they were working so hard and they were tired, and they said, tomorrow we're going to rest. It didn't come from God. It came from the Anunnaki. Family, do the research. Sabbath got nothing to do with God. The Sabbath has nothing to do with God. Why do God need a rest day? Think about it. What is God needing to rest from? God did all of this in 6 days. Genesis ain't about God. Genesis is about the Anunnaki. That's what Genesis is all about. And when you read Genesis and you understand what the words mean, you can see, oh, this is not talking about God at all. The people were working and they're beings with actual bodies. So of course they got tired. When God got tired, why do God, the creator of the entire universe, made a couple of plants and some people and a planet, and all of a sudden the God is exhausted? No, no, boo. And why does the number 40 keep coming up in the Bible over and over again? You know why the number 40 keeps coming up in the Bible over and over again? 40 days in the wilderness, with the 40 days that Jesus was in the wilderness to get tested, 40 years that the Israelites wandered in the wilderness, 40 days and 40 nights that the flood, that it rained for the flood, even though it says two different things in the Bible about the flood. If you read it, it says two different things. But anyway, Christians never read that part. They just never read that part. It's right. I'm going to tell you why it's 40, because 40 was Inky's number. Look it up. That's why 40 keeps appearing in the Bible. 40 was Enki's number. And that's why 40 has such significance in the Bible. Each of them had numbers. One had 40, one had 50, one had 60. Anu's number was 60. Enki's number was 40. Enlil's number was 50. And then that number was going to pass to Marduk, who he wanted to become the next ruler of Earth because he felt like his inheritance was stolen from him because his father Enki was actually older than Enlil. Enki is older than Enlil, but Enki was not born by the divine, by the wife that is the royal wife. Enlil was born by the royal wife. So that's why Enlil has a leg up on Enki. And that's how Enlil got to be ruler of the earth. And Anu, which is spoken of all throughout the Bible, is the sky god, also known as El Elyon, not a god at all, just was in the sky where they took Elijah and Ezekiel. They took many of them up there. Anu, he's in the Bible. The sons of Anak that were huge. It's in the Bible. All this stuff is in the Bible. All of it is in the Bible. Ain't no cracking up. Don't get me to breaking down these things that are in the Bible because I know exactly what I'm talking about. And most Christians don't haven't even researched their own book. They say they love their book, but you couldn't tell it by me because they don't research their own book. What about those pilgrims? Were there Christian occultists, including the Puritans? Oh, the Puritans were some nasty. Ooh, those were some. I'm so glad I wasn't around when the Puritans were around, but maybe I was, and maybe they killed me. That could have been a past life. I was a witch with the Puritans. Ooh, them Puritans were horrible, and they were so Jesus-fied, Jesus freaks, right? That everything scared them. They thought that's why the Salem witch trials happened because of these pilgrims. And they were definitely Puritans. And I say most of them, except for the Scottish ones, I will give the Scottish ones, I will exclude the Scottish ones. Most of them were colonizers in some form or fashion coming to the New World to take land from people. And how do you come to a new world and take land from people and the people were already here? The Hopi were already here. The Navajo were already here. Like, how do you come to a land? Oh, it's nobody there. But people are here. And then knock them in the head, take the land, and never give it back. Wow. That's what we did. That's what they did. It is pretty horrible, isn't it? That's what they did. And then when the people protested, they called them savages. When the Navajo and the Hopi and the Cherokee protested and actually fought and started skinning some people's heads, then they called them barbarians. You're a fucking barbarian, Christopher Columbus. You came over here sailing the ocean blue and knocking people in the head and telling them this is the Bible now and you're going to be Christian and I'm claiming all this in the name of Spain. What? Okay, don't get me started. Don't get me started. All backed by the Pope. Please don't get me started on these Pope Catholic colonizers. Don't get me started on the colonizers now. I don't want to talk about the colonizers tonight. Like I said, colonizer is not a color. Colonizer is a consciousness that thinks that you have the right to go to someone else's place, knock them in the head, tell them what to do, take all their gold, take all their land. You serve us now. What? And wonder why the people revolted and uprise and kill people. Wow. Like, what is going on in these people's consciousness? Okay, I'm 3/4 savage. I think I'm 100% savage. We converted savages. Okay. You may have think you converted savages, but I promise you they were not savages in the first place. Because what would cause us to look at people and call them savages? Because they had a different way of life than the people who came here? So it's already been proven that Christopher Columbus was a plunderer and a murderer and a bad person. And that's why they took away his holiday in the United States. They were like, oh, the word got out in the information age about how horrible Christopher Columbus was. This man is not a hero. This man is not to be lauded. We don't need a day celebrating him. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They still doing it. The Sentinese tribes experiencing it today went over there trying to preach. Now they're dying and being destroyed today. Isn't that horrible? And you know what's very interesting about it? Um, Oh, Matthew 16:18. I think you need to. I'm gonna offer this in a very kind way. Um, Christians, I'm gonna say this in a very kind way. Christians have killed more people on the face of this planet than any other group of people. If we want to look at history, Christians in their holy wars and their inquisitions killed more people in the history of humanity than any other group of people. Murderous bunch. They're a murderous bunch. So, absolutely not. And worshiping chihuahuas, killing babies for crops. Where the fuck are you getting your? You know what? Bye, because that level of ignorance, we can't do it. We can't do it. I can't. My brain cannot deal with that level of ignorance. But let's just take out the trash, because what in the world? We can't do it. We can't do it. All right. You love this good word? I love it, Druzilla. It's so good. It's so good meeting you. I love you, family. I'm so glad you're here. Now, I hope and pray and know that all of you are going to be coming with us to my 20th anniversary celebration. So if you go to valerielove.com, 20 years of speaking and teaching on spirituality, metaphysics, and man and magic. And it is coming up in April. And I would love for all of you to be there at my 20th anniversary. We're having two parties. One is going to be in DC, one is going to be in Dubai. We even have sponsor opportunities if you want some promotion for your business. So it's at valerielove.com. I love you. I'll see you next Wednesday. Peace.